The new selection box is here and it's got a lot of good stuff in it. Before really getting into it, I just need to point out that if you are a free-to-play player, opening packs from selection boxes is a complete waste of gems and time. The only benefit of opening selection boxes is if you are a super rich new player that wants to get a bunch of staples quickly, or if you have a decent amount of money you can use to obtain the selection box exclusives. Really, every selection box should be judged based on the cards that are exclusive to it, because really it is often better to get the rest of the cards from the boxes they originally come from. Selection Box Mini Volume 5 has 7 exclusives and we are going to talk about them all. First up, we have Photon Sanctuary. It summons 2 photon tokens in defense mode. They can't attack or be used for synchro material, and you can't summon anything except for light monsters the turn you use it. Tokens can't be used for an Xyz summon under any scenario, so this card is intended to help you link summon a light attribute link monster, and you might have noticed it has the word photon in its name. But now you can search this using the Galaxy Photon skill, and you could use it to link summon Galaxy Eyes Soul Flare Dragon, Security Dragon, and Hippo Shedingen. It is searchable with the Galaxy Photon skill, but at the same time, if you plan on using this, you should play 3 copies of it. We would want to have it as often as possible, and a nice bonus is that if you have more than 1 copy in your hand, the card actually isn't once per turn, so you could cheese out another link 2 with it. Next, we have Lost Wind, the next trap in the growing group of powerful traps that are limited to 3. In the TCG, there was a line of power creep regarding traps that can help stop monsters, and Duel Links seems to be following the same line, from Fiendish Chain to Breakthrough Skill, then Lost Wind, Solemn Strike, and then Infinite Impermanence. We are now in the middle of this chain of power creep, but is it going to be good in Duel Links? The card negates a special summon monster and cuts its original attack in half permanently. What makes this card special though is that if the opponent special summons from the extra deck while this card is in the grave, you can set it from the grave again but banish it when it leaves the field. While this card's effect is good, negating a special summon monster and nerfing its attack both permanently, its effect is still in competition with the likes of Warning Point and Forbidden Chalice, both of which have more versatility to their usage, but those are both only 1-use cards. This is a card you can use twice that has a really good effect, even if there are other cards that might have a slightly better version of that effect. It also can't be understated that the monsters that you target with this card have their attack and effects nerfed permanently, unlike other negates that only last until the end of the turn. Its other competition is other traps that are limited to 3. I personally feel that it deserves its place among the likes of Ice Dragon's Prison, Crackdown, and Compulse, and which one out of these 4 you prefer to run in your deck is going to depend on either what weakness you feel your traps can patch up in your deck, or on what might be most preferable for a given format. That said though, even though I would say this card is better than Warning Point in a vacuum, if your deck has a lot of room for generic traps, you don't want all of your traps to fulfill the same purpose. So you'd probably prefer to use another limited to 3 trap so that you can play Warning Point for its purpose and save your limited 3 slots to patch up other purposes. This card is definitely worth owning 3 of, however, it isn't so strong that you're going to feel incomplete in your account if you don't own it. Tour Guide from the Underworld has already been available at 1 copy in a special bundle, but now it's available in a selection box, so we can own 3 copies of it. This card can be a 1-card rank 3 Xyz or a 1-card link 2, and it is quite good in Burning Abyss. That said, the card is still limited to 3, and so is Beatrice, so Burning Abyss still isn't going to be able to play full power just yet. That said though, Tour Guide is still generically good for how easily it can go into rank 3 Xyz. This may have some meta potential if there's a deck that can take advantage of an effect like this in a way that the deck won't completely die if they don't open the Tour Guide, since it isn't searchable by most decks. If you're playing Burning Abyss, you only need to get a 2nd copy of this at most, but you really could just ignore that she is here and continue playing 1 so that you can play 2 Beatrice for the long game. But if you can, it would be worth getting the 2nd and 3rd copies of this when this card can be played at 3 in Burning Abyss one day. Evil Swarm Exciton Knight may be the most important card from this selection box, and you only need 1 copy of it. It is a rank 4 that requires generic materials, and it has a quick effect that can be used during either your own main phase or your opponent's battle phase, but it can only be activated if the opponent has more total cards in their hand and on their field than you have in your hand and on your field. You detach a material to destroy all other cards on the field, but for the rest of the turn your opponent takes no damage. When your opponent has more cards than you can use this to try to swing the game into your favor and give you a chance to set up your own defense for when the opponent gets their next turn. The fact that this card protects your opponent from damage for the turn you use it is a good balancing mechanism. If you destroy all your opponent's field so easily, they can at least have a chance to follow up. After all, 2 level 4s should not decide an entire duel just by jumping on top of each other. That said, that downside won't happen if the opponent negates this effect, so this can be a way to force your opponent's negates out before before you go in with your other plays. After all, who wants their field to be destroyed when they can negate it? If the opponent has some form of destruction protection like Dingirsu, then this card is pretty useless though. But the fact that this card goes into the extra deck means that it can be there when you need it, and if you don't need it, then that's fine, you can just use another card. The extra deck of most decks are getting tighter and tighter as time goes on though, so while this card is good, there's a chance that it may not see as much play as other rank 4s. The fact that it can destroy the whole field on the opponent's battle phase isn't too relevant, as it can be played around by not plussing in card advantage too much, or simply by removing it before the battle phase. You will only ever need one copy of this because it goes into the extra deck as an option. Fun fact though, this guy is the evil version of Steel Swarm Roach. Yeah, I know, I thought Roach is already an evil son of a bitch too. Infinitrack Brutal Dozer is the card that Infinitracks and other Earth Machine decks have been waiting on for a while. This guy summons another Infinitrack from the deck, making it quite easy to go into your rank 5 if you need to, and also opening up other potential plays. This card is very searchable, so it may just be a card you need one of. However, with testing, there is a chance that it may be worth playing in multiple copies, but on first glance, I would call this a one-off. Pendulum Treasure is a very simple spell that just puts a pendulum monster from your deck into your extra deck, face up. For some pendulum decks, this could be some really nice consistency, putting something into your extra deck so that you can pendulum summon it right out. For a deck that would like an effect like this card would be a card you'd want 3 copies of, since it is a card that pertains to consistency. However, until we look through the pendulum decks that exist, we may not be able to know for certain what decks this would be very helpful in, as many pendulum decks have very good consistency as it is. Lastly, we have Court of Cards. It is a continuous trap that can special summon a Queen's Knight, King's Knight, or Jack's Knight from your hand or grave, as long as you control no monsters, or if the only monsters you control are any of these 3 monsters. You can also banish any number of monsters with those names from your hand or grave in order to draw the same number of cards. Really, none of what this card does makes the deck it belongs to any better. The deck lacks pretty much everything that makes a deck good, and having a bootleg Call of the Haunted doesn't fix any of it. If you love this archetype, great, you can get this card, but it isn't gonna matter how many of these cards you play, because you're gonna lose the duel regardless. Damn, I didn't want to end this on a negative note. Is there anything else positive about this box? You know, I think there is a positive note. All the good Infinitrack cards are in here, so if you are interested in playing Infinitracks but you haven't gotten the cards from the boxes they come from, you could simply go through this box 3 times and you'd have almost everything you would need for the deck just from this selection box. I think this is a pretty solid selection box. That said, I still don't necessarily agree with the idea of paywalling cards. I think that making free-to-play or budget players wait for cards to be put in regular boxes after more than half a year is pretty cold comfort. By then, the exclusive cards may have been very meta relevant for a long time, and the people that couldn't obtain it may have been left behind. That said, other than the deck-specific cards, I don't think free-to-play players are going to suffer so much from not getting the exclusives from this box. For the most part, they are certainly good cards, but they aren't like Book of Moon or IDP in power level. But yeah guys, let us know in the comments what you think about this box or anything in general. I like seeing your comments, even if they aren't related to the video. If you like this video, then slap like now, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that bell to get notified every time we make a new video. Have yourselves a good week, and I've been Undead from Team 6K, signing out.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the weatherman. I ain't asking to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake, but it ain't on me. Got clean so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon, they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For real.